Hello and welcome to the Fuel Run Recover podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Natchuk, registered dietitian, running coach, marathon runner, and mom. This season, we're breaking down running's biggest trends, hot topics, and myths, and turning them into practical nutrition and training advice you can actually use every day. Let's get into it. Hey runners, before we get into today's episode, I want to ask you a quick question. Have you ever wondered if your nutrition is actually helping your running, or is it actually holding you back? If you want to find out, I've created a brand new free resource just for you. It's called the Runner's Fueling Audit. It's a super quick checklist that's going to help you spot the signs of underfueling, low energy availability, or where the gaps in your nutrition might be that are impacting your recovery and actually slowing you down. It only takes a few minutes to go through, and by the end, you're going to know whether or not your fueling is on the right track, or if you really need to start making some changes to the way you approach your eating so you can start to feel stronger on every run, reduce your injury risk, and actually get the results that you're training so hard for. You can grab your free copy right now by clicking on the link in the show notes. Again, this is called the Runner's Fueling Audit. It's a free downloadable resource, and it's going to give you so much clarity on how you can start feeling smarter and running stronger. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fuel Run Recover podcast. I, of course, am your host, Stephanie Natchuk, and today we are talking about how to fuel if you want to get faster. And what I want to walk you through today are the things you should be thinking about and the things you should be taking into consideration when it comes to your fueling if your goal for this season of your running is to run faster. Now, this could be if you're planning to run faster for shorter distances, maybe you're working on like your 5K time or your mile time, or if you just want to if you're just in a speed season of life and you are looking to translate that to faster, longer races as well. So kind of no matter what you're working on right now, if your goal is speed, then there's a couple of things that I want to walk you through today, things that often get in runners' way when they're trying to finish longer races faster, the things that are going to prevent you from being able to do that, but then also just some daily eating strategies and some things to think about with your day-to-day eating that makes a huge difference when it comes to fueling those quality workouts. Because at the end of the day, nutrition does play a big role in our race day performances, right? Fueling and proper nutrition can shave minutes, right? Multiple minutes, possibly even dozens of minutes off of our PR. So nutrition, like as an adjunct to the training that we do to get faster and become stronger runners, just things like intra-run fueling, things like carb loading, like proper hydration, specifically on race day, absolutely make a difference in our ability to reach our goals for those races. But even backing up a little bit, some things to do with our day-to-day eating, and then therefore the quality of the training, the results we get from our training and our recovery also can then add up to making a really big difference in what we're capable of on race day. So the first thing that I want you to think about here is going to be your daily fueling and making sure that day by day, you're adapting, you're eating your daily meals and snacks to the demands of your training. So the days that you are running 15 kilometers, you aren't eating the same way as when you run 5 kilometers. Or if you have a long run coming up tomorrow, you're not eating the same way as if you don't have a long run coming up tomorrow. So really, everything around your eating is built around your training. And so if we start with the training schedule, and then we have a nutrition strategy that is kind of built around that, we're going to be much more successful with the quality of our workouts, our recovery from our workouts, reducing our risk of injuries, and just getting better results over time than if we are eating the same kind of day in and day out or season after season, not adjusting our fueling to what's happening with our workouts and with our runs. So that's step number one. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. In my programs, my Fueled Runner online program and my Fuel Train Recover Club, which is my run and nutrition coaching program. In both of these, I use a method called the athlete's plates. And I teach the athlete's plates to my runners so that you can get a sense of what that actually looks like, right? How do I eat differently for a long run day versus a short run or rest day? Like practically, what does my plate look like? Like, what does that mean? And so that is one kind of option for using a simple visual tool like the athlete's plates to shift and adjust your eating depending on your training schedule for that day. The other thing, though, is if we are looking at calories and macros, and that's, of course, another option, another strategy that I will implement with my clients when they want to or when it's suitable, would be looking at calories, looking at macronutrients, and adjusting our targets for those based on what we have coming up that day. So just as an example, the day before our long run, we're going to intentionally increase our carbohydrate consumption the day before our long run. Maybe that's the entire day, or maybe it's just at dinner time. Depends on what sort of season of long run you're in, how long that long run is, how close you are to your race. But it might just be dinner the night before your long run, or it could be all the way up to doing like a full kind of dress rehearsal carb load sort of thing. So shifting around what we're eating to match what the demands of our training are going to be for that day, what this does is it means that you have more fuel available for those harder or longer workouts. And the key with this is that then it allows you to get in the quality training that you need to actually get faster, right? Because if you have depleted your body of muscle glycogen, you're running on empty, you have no energy for your muscles to burn, right? You're burning through muscle tissue in order to try to fuel these workouts. Your brain is starved of calories, right? Like if you don't just have those basic necessities of fuel, the quality of your training is going to suffer. And that means that even the best training plan in the world is only going to get you so far. So really setting up your eating based on your training and being very intentional about adapting that to what the demands of your training are day to day is absolutely key. The second thing that I want you to think about if we're fueling specifically for speed is the timing of your meals. And again, we don't want to go into a workout underfueled, right? We don't want to start a workout with depleted muscle glycogen, with depleted liver glycogen. We're just barely hanging on with the amount of carb we have in our body available to fuel that workout. Maybe that'll get you by on a shorter, easy run, or maybe even for a long, easy run, right? You'll be able to get by because we are burning predominantly fat during those easy efforts. But as the intensity climbs, we add in some speed intervals. We're doing a tempo run. We have some goal pace work incorporated into that long run. As the intensity climbs, so does our reliance on carbohydrate. And it does not matter who you are, what you're trying to do, fat adapted or not. A higher intensity workout requires more carbohydrate for fuel. That is not something that we can physiologically change about being human beings. So if we are trying to spend more time working at a higher effort, we're trying to develop our lactate threshold, we're trying to work on our VO2 max, those are things that require carbohydrate as a fuel source in order to do it successfully. And so we know that fueling more effectively with carb improves the endurance and the stamina and the speed that we can sustain, which therefore is going to give us better results from our training. So fueling up, being fueled, going into each run is going to pay off in terms of the results that we get from better quality training sessions. So that's the first piece, right? Around the meal timing and what we want to think about with meal timing. The second thing we want to think about is our post-workout recovery meal. And this is really key too, because that is what actually helps to set us up for success in future workouts. So there's two components to our post-workout meal, and that's going to be our protein and our carbohydrates. The protein is there for repairing the damaged muscle tissue and actually doing the job of rebuilding those muscle fibers and everything stronger than they were before, right? So we do the damage, we repair it, we do the damage, we repair it. So goes the cycle. And this is how we get stronger over time. But the second thing that's really key here is the carbohydrate. And what a lot of people don't know is that there is a prime window of time right after a training session when our bodies are most responsive to restoring and replenishing muscle glycogen. Now, after that window, right, after that, first 30 minutes or so, the window does not close. It's not like, okay, here we are, muscle cells, we're ready for more glycogen, feed us, feed us, feed us, and then, oh, window shut, that's it, right? Absolutely not. But there is this opportunity that we can really replenish muscle glycogen more rapidly. And what that means is that now tomorrow's workout, we have more fuel on board. So during higher training volume seasons, if we're doing more double workout days, if we're running more miles overall, there's more speed work, there's long runs that have workouts incorporated into our long runs, right? If all of those things are happening, then we want to be really on top of replenishing that muscle glycogen quickly, because it means, again, that we're going to turn around and be able to have a stronger run the next time. Whereas on the other hand, if we are in a lower volume training season, if we are not running as much, we have fewer running days, more rest days, that sort of thing, then it isn't as much of a rush or an emergency to replenish that muscle glycogen really quickly. And so that post-run meal maybe doesn't need to be quite as high in carbohydrate. We always want some carbohydrate in our post-run meal, but it could be the difference between getting in 30 or 40 grams of carbs and trying to get in 120 grams of carbs, right? Huge range there. But really, our post-run meal is a key critical time, not only, of course, for the recovery benefits, but also because when we refuel quickly after a run, we have better appetite regulation and a better handle on our hunger and fullness cues for the rest of the day. So getting in enough nutrition overall to support our training demands, but also really prioritizing fueling at the right time of day is another big step in fueling for more speed. The third thing is our intra-run fuel, and specifically fueling our long runs. And the fueling for our long runs is really important, especially if you're finding that you often fade as you're doing a long run. If you start off pretty good and then your pace just as you're going, if you really struggle in those later miles, if your digestive system starts to turn on you in those later miles, if you're just having a really hard time with good quality long runs that you finish feeling strong and finish feeling accomplished rather than just barely making it to the end or just feeling really frustrated with all of your long runs, then I would really encourage you to look at your fueling habits. And this is going to start with fueling up the night before or the day before. As I mentioned, we want to make sure that we're going into that run with as much muscle glycogen as possible. And so having all of that extra energy on board means that we can run longer and run faster for longer. The second thing is, of course, your pre-run meal, always key before a long run too, but just what you eat just in that pre-run meal, right? That slice of toast and banana, that bowl of cereal, that bagel, that is not enough for a 10-mile run. You are burning way more calories in that 10 or 15 or 20-mile run than you're going to get just in that pre-run meal. So again, fueling up, having the muscle glycogen coming in prior to that pre-run meal is what's going to help you have those sustained higher energy levels. The other thing we want to do is, of course, take in enough fuel during the run and really practice taking in that intra-run fuel, especially during the harder efforts. And this is very not really counterintuitive, because once I explain, you're going to be like, oh yeah, of course, Steph, that makes perfect sense. But it's not what we want to do, right? It's not the thing that we would want to do and sort of want to implement as part of our fueling strategy. But we want to practice logistically and sort of tangibly being able to access and open and consume our intra-run fuel during those harder efforts. So I'll give an example, right? We are probably just fine, very comfortable fueling during a long run, either stopping and walking during our fueling breaks, which is fine. You can run a very fast half or full marathon or 10K. You can run a very fast race with walk breaks. This is not saying anything negative about walk breaks whatsoever. But you're either probably taking a quick walk break to take your gel, grab your gel out of your pocket, open it, take it, dispose of the package, take some water, that sort of thing. Or you're probably saving your fueling for the easier parts of your long run. So if you have some goal pace work, or if you have pickups or something like that, maybe as part of your long run, you're probably fueling before and after those sections of your long run, right? What I want you to do is I want you to start actually fueling during those sections, right? Plan to take a gel during those goal pace sections of your long run in order to be comfortable actually taking in fuel when you're running at a harder effort. The other thing that I would encourage you to do, because again, you might not have that many opportunities to fuel when you're running a little bit faster, is to actually take in some fuel, whether that's some chews or a gel or what have you, take that in during your tempo runs. So yeah, okay, maybe you don't normally fuel a 3 or 4 mile tempo run, but start, when you get to the midpoint section of that tempo run, take a gel, take some chews, like just be in the habit, get really well versed at fueling as you're running faster, because you don't want to be the runner that trains and maybe fuels really well during training, does all the things you're supposed to do during training, but then you get to race day and you don't take a single gel. And then you hit the wall because you never practiced taking a gel while running faster. So if you decide that you want to incorporate walk breaks for fueling, totally fine. Please incorporate walk breaks for fueling. But again, just make sure that that's like built into your overall plan. And then, of course, with our intra-run fueling and racing comes carb loading. And again, carb loading is something that absolutely improves race times. We have plenty of research showing that carb loading does, in fact, improve race times, but we have to execute it properly. And part of that proper execution is practice and training our gut and knowing what foods to eat that work well for us, what beverages we want to drink that work well for us, and also what is the timing of our nutrition throughout the day, so we aren't trying to jam in 700 grams of carbs at 8 o'clock at night the day before our race when that ship has sailed, right? We're not going to get in that much. We're just going to give ourselves a stomach ache. So having a strategy for the timing of our carb load, the amount of fuel that we need, the timing of that fuel, what we're going to have when, means that the whole process is that much smoother. We have way less race day anxiety. We have way less risk of gut issues. And we've practiced this carb loading plan during training at least a couple of times, starting with just like slowly increasing our long run carbs, like the day before the long run, increasing how much we're taking in, all the way up to having a couple of like full blown dress rehearsals and a few days that we're doing like a full carb load beforehand. So that then we have that extra muscle glycogen on board and we're able to, again, run faster for longer and build that speed that we're looking for. And then the final thing that I want to talk about in this episode is, of course, hydration. And we know that even very mild dehydration, like just losing 2 to 3% of your body weight in fluids, can negatively impact performance, especially in situations where it's hot. Like the perception of being hot and being in a warm environment and feeling hot impairs our performance like as even more, right? It has an even bigger negative impact on performance. So the dehydration is a problem, and like the dehydration will eventually catch up to us even in cooler temperatures, but in hotter temperatures, we're going to like feel that even more, and that's going to negatively affect our performance even faster. And what I see time and time again with runners is struggling with fueling and hydration in the later stages of a long run or race. So maybe for the first hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours, you're doing pretty good. But then once you reach a certain point, your stomach starts to go south, starts to turn on you a little bit. You find that you're having a little bit of a harder time taking in the gels, having a little bit of a hard time taking in the water, feeling a little bit nauseous, just your stomach is not happy. And a lot of people think that it's the gels. So they're thinking, oh, I can't take that many gels. I can only handle so many gels before my stomach starts to have a problem with the gels. What I would say is that it is probably not the gels, but it's probably your hydration. And so what happens is we're losing all of that fluid in our sweat, and then we have less blood flow available to support the needs of our stomach and our working muscles, and in hot weather, also allowing us to sweat. So we have more blood flow going to the skin to allow that sweating to happen. So when we lose that blood flow, and especially lose that blood flow to the stomach, our digestion starts to get impaired. So now you're putting in the gels, but they're not going anywhere, right? They're not being digested. They are not being absorbed. And so we start to get that ick feeling, and it can go to like full blown, obviously nausea, vomiting, cramps, diarrhea, bloating, you name it. But it definitely is going to take away from us having a solid performance, whether it's a long run or a race. So instead, what we really want to do is focus on hydration. Like in general, we want to be hydrated as runners, but especially heading into race day, especially in hot weather, we want to really emphasize getting in enough fluid during that run or during that race. This isn't always easy, right? Logistically, carrying that much water with you during a long run, massive pain, right? Water is very heavy. Water is very cumbersome. In hot weather, it's very hard to keep water cold. So there's a lot of logistical issues, but I promise you that it is worth it to bring the extra water, to set up a little mini aid station that you can use and have like a central point that you can stop and rehydrate or repack some more cold water at. Having plans to stop at places like, I'll give an example. When I did my long run this past weekend, we were out at our campground that we stay at for a lot of the summer. And I knew that I could only bring so much with me. And it was so hot outside that like the ice in my bottle melted in the first 15 minutes. Like there was no ice left in that bottle after 15 minutes. But what I planned, there's a store inside the campground. And so I was like, okay, I'll run down near the campground store, and then I can stop at the store, pack my debit card, and make a quick stop to pick up another Gatorade, and then I can drink that on the way back. And it worked out great, right? Got to stop, pick up a cold Gatorade, no complaints. But doing something like that, right? Yeah, does it mean I have to stop for 2 minutes to get the Gatorade? Like, yeah, but if it means that then the quality of my run is that much better and I don't like get heat illness or die of dehydration, those are good things. So sometimes it's worth it to do something a little bit inconvenient in order to boost the quality of the run you're going to do, rather than bring my little 500 ml bottle, which lasted me about 20 minutes into that run before I drank it, and then like just suffer through the back half of that run. I don't even know how long I would have been able to continue running with how hot it was and having only that little bottle of fluids, right? Like stopping to refuel, like stopping to get more was the best solution. And, it was hot and I was slow, but ultimately, like, it wasn't too bad of a run, if I'm being really honest. So thinking about hydration. So yeah, if we want to think about fueling for speed, again, this is not a distance specific type of podcast episode. This is not just for distance runners or even just for shorter distance runners. Like, this is not just if you're doing like 5 or 10Ks or if you're doing halves or fulls or what have you, but kind of for all of it. How do we set up the foundation of our nutrition to fuel and make it easier to get the quality results, the results from our training that we want to get in those quality workouts? And those are really, really the steps. And I can't remember now off the top of my head how many steps I ended up giving you, but let's run through them again. So fueling enough kind of day by day to meet the demands of your training for better quality workouts, timing your meals appropriately around the demand, around your workout timing, carb loading / intra-workout fuel, hydration. I think that was 4. Might have been more. I'm not sure. Anyway, I think I gave you everything that I wanted to talk about today. But yeah, so that's what we can do. And that's really what I want you to think about. And of course, as I mentioned, tools and resources like the runner's plates are things that I use in my online coaching programs, the Fuel Train Recover Club and the Fueled Runner program. You can get more details about both of those in the show notes. And those are just two of the ways that I work with runners and help you really unlock your full performance potential with adding in things like the right nutrition at the right times to your training schedule. I also, of course, take a few one-on-one clients each season. And so if you're looking for more one-on-one help, personalized support, then you can find all of the info about all of that at the link in the show notes. All right, that is it for this week's episode. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you back here next week. Bye for now. The information on this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not to be used or relied upon for the diagnosis or treatment of any health condition. This information does not create a client-practitioner relationship and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice.